Hey guys, I don't usually pay much attention to what's going on in VTuber circles, but when it comes to Kirsche, I think it goes well beyond that with just how popular she is. And what is happening to her right now is directly related to a studio, the games industry, and culture in general. And if you're not in on the loop, basically what's going on is that cancel culture is once again rearing its ugly head even after all this time. Sometimes it's so easy to just kinda let our guard down and just think that nah, cancel culture's over, it's dying, these weirdos online are losing their power, common sense is making a comeback, blah 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 blah. But the truth is that so long as companies keep folding to them, it'll never really go away. So first I'm going to give you guys an abridged version of what exactly happened with Kirsche. Not a full in-depth breakdown of it though, because there's honestly just so much more to the story, but I'm going to give you guys the bullet points so you understand what's going on, and then we're going to talk about its moving parts, why it's all BS, what has come from it, some of the copium online about it, and just how much of a mistake it is for game companies to keep engaging in this kind of thing. It's important to be aware of these things for posterity because this is a prime egregious example of this fake cancel culture bullshit. So if you're not aware at all of what the hell is going on, this is where it's coming from. I assume most of you have at least heard of the Carmelo Anthony situation and the Shiloh Hendrix situation over the past few weeks. If not, it's way too big of a rabbit hole to go down fully, and that involves racial connotations, but here's the summary. A few weeks ago, a guy named Carmelo Anthony, a black student from the United States, I think he's 17, stabbed another student in the heart over a dispute. The other student was named Austin and he was white. And it was a totally uncalled for and unnecessary disaster that escalated beyond reason. In a normal world, something like this would just be a really bad thing that happened this one day and that now, naturally, has to be solved. The killer needs to go to jail and that's that. But sadly, in the world that we live in today, utterly poisoned by identity politics and other garbage that we have inherited by allowing so much far-left bullshit and gaslighting to run rampant in society, it became a stupid race issue. If you want to look further into it to learn exactly how, there's videos and streamers going over it. It involves judges doing stupid-ass decisions, it involves race-baiting pastors or whatever the hell he was, showing up to make speeches, riling people up and making this a case about race, victimizing the actual killer, etc. It's just a goddamn mess. And online comments on social media are even more disgusting. The main point here is that Carmelo's family set up a fundraiser to support him, and this was one of the things that got racially charged. Basically, morons donating money to help a clear-cut case of a murderer to... I don't even know what the hell this is for, to be honest with you guys. Again, it's a clear-cut case of a murder. He's not going to walk away free, there's no doubts about what happened here. I don't care how many goddamn lawyers they would have to hire with the $500,000 that they raised. I have no idea what it is that these donors have in mind with this money, outside of wanting to help someone who murdered someone else in cold blood, just because these donors think that there's some underlying imaginary racial issues behind it, in big part thanks to that pastor and other morons commenting on social media. Now, fast forward to a few days ago, some white lady named Shiloh Hendrix was recorded in a park calling a 5-year-old kid the N-word over some kind of disagreement with their own kid. She did it, and then she was being recorded at one point, being confronted for it, and she just didn't care. She went and did it again on camera. This went viral, and then she set up a fundraiser as well. There's no indication of any court case or anything at all against her, as far as I know, certainly not when the fundraiser went up, but she did set it up anyway, citing that she needed to move because ever since the video went viral, she began getting threats to herself and her family. And lo and behold, morons went and donated money for her as well. More on this in a second. Now, some people saw this and began getting these viral posts online saying that this was despicable, blah 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 blah. The website should shut down Shiloh Hendrix's fundraising campaign because it was ridiculous and insane that someone would raise money for calling a 5-year-old the N-word. Enter Kirsche. She saw this and pointed out the hypocrisy of complaining about Shiloh Hendrix's fundraiser while not complaining about Carmelo Anthony's fundraiser. She said that the campaign should not get shut down because they didn't shut down Carmelo's campaign either. if they do, then it's a clear-cut case of hypocrisy. And even a silly one at that when you really think about it, and you consider that in Carmelo's case, if we are to look at it through the racial lens that all of the people donating money to him seem to want to, force into the situation, then it's an even worse scenario because there's an actual death involved. And there's been so much disgusting rhetoric following that online, even related to this fundraising campaign, from people wanting to force this racial lens into the situation, even to the point of targeting the white guy, the victim of the crime, that I can't even imagine what it must be like for the dude's parents and family. But again, Kirsche was not defending Shiloh's actions. She was at most defending her right to keep hosting that fundraising campaign. And that's if you want to twist it that way, because in truth, she was just pointing out a double standard.
A lot of people are just like, unfollowed, that's an unfollow from me. Bostonian guy said, oh no, what am I going to do without followers that think it's okay to call a 5-year-old the N-word? I don't think most people think it's okay. I think there are a lot of people who are tired of things happening, like Daniel Penny, like the whole George Floyd incident and the Summer of Love, like the Carmelo Anthony. There's just a lot of people tired of the two-tier justice system, and they start saying some crazy things and doing some crazy things. That doesn't make it okay, but it's like, that's just kind of the consequence of where we're at now, unfortunately. And there are some people who are like accelerationists that are like, the pendulum is going to swing back so far it's going to break off. And I hope that's not true. I don't want to see that happening. I don't like seeing this kind of like violence towards other people. Like, not that words are violence, right? But there are people advocating for violence on both sides. And I don't like seeing that.
And she was absolutely right, because if you allow a racially motivated campaign set up to help defend a murderer, then there really aren't many campaigns that you can say, oh no, we're gonna draw our line on this. Certainly not for a woman who called a 5-year-old the N-word. Again, this isn't a good person, this isn't a normal action, this isn't a well-adjusted thing to do, but it's also not violence either, and certainly not lethal violence as is present in the context of Carmelo's fundraising campaign. This is basically a situation where two losers set up campaigns for morons to go and fund their racism, and then getting mad at each other online over which one of them is in the lead. To support either one of these campaigns while advocating for the other one to be banned is hypocritical. Carmelo Anthony's parents must allow justice to be done. It just is what it is. And turning this into a race issue and then trying to profit from it is obviously wrong. And Shiloh should stop going to public parks to call children the N-word, and if she does do that, then the next step should be to either apologize or accept the consequences, not set up a fundraiser to make money off of the situation as well. But hey, it's the year of our Lord 2025. If these people want to set up fundraisers for this shit and morons online want to donate their money for this shit, then saying that Carmelo Anthony's fundraiser is okay and Shiloh's fundraiser is not okay is a double standard. So this is essentially the main thing that happened. She basically is getting shit for stating a fact, just for saying, hey, look guys, the sky is blue. But as I said before, Kirsche is someone who gets a lot of hate online. From what I gather, this is basically just yet another thing on top of a long list of attacks on her and her business from Reddit users who even admit to not actually watching her, liars, activists, and morons in the excess media speedrunning their way into mass layoffs just like Polygon. So during this attack, at least one company has gone on to cut her out. In-game studios, the developers of crime boss Rockeye City. They bent over to the cancel culture people pressuring them and others to drop Kirsche, lying about what it is that she had actually said, drumming up controversy to fabricate legitimacy. And what makes this case especially nasty is that Kirsche has been a huge supporter of that game. She apparently brought over thousands of players to the game because of just genuinely enjoying it and playing it on her own time, and apparently going so far as to help in other areas of development, a true partnership in a way. And I just don't get this at all, man. It's just such a massive fumble. Like, here's the thing, not too long ago I talked about this game right here, No Mercy, and its deletion from Steam. For full context, I would just direct you guys advise to check out the video later if you want to, but in short, it was a massive controversy, but one that looked terrible to defend nonetheless. When you fully contextualize everything, you see the flaws and straight up the problematic reasoning behind the cancellation attempt on the game from the group of activists. All arguments used were terrible and laughably vague. They could be applied to anything an activist wanted to censor or take down, and they were funded in true, how do I even say this? They just knew nothing. They had no idea of the space that they were talking about. They have no idea what's going on in the actual underground 18+ video game world. They just made a mountain out of an anthill and they just pushed and pushed to get the game banned. But the developers ended up pulling the game from Steam anyway because they didn't want to get themselves into trouble, or Steam for that matter. It just wasn't worth it. In the end, again, it's just one of those situations with really bad optics if you try to defend it. While that was nonetheless a victory of sorts for the cancel culture, albeit one that isn't even a cancellation, like Steam did not take it down, and I don't think that they would have taken it down, to be honest, because if they did, then that would mean that they would have to take down thousands of other Gunner games just like it. The developers just pulled it down themselves. But anyway, while that was a victory of sorts for the cancel culture, it wasn't that significant. This shit with Kirsche though? Oh, it's huge, because Kirsche is huge, and also nothing fucking happened. Again, it's just a constant barrage of attacks on a person who they hate because of her having views that they don't like. It's no different than the people hating on Asmongold or the average content creator making videos calling out cancel culture, censorship, activism in media, etc. It's literally like, oh no, look, a person saying things that I don't like and that I don't agree with a big following. Gotta nip that shit in the bud right away before it gets too big. We can't allow different opinions than ours. And this studio going with it is just such a massive fumble. Like, how many times are we going to have to bang on the same point that these people, these cancel clowns, are not here to play or support any of these video games or companies that they complain about and try to get in trouble? Do you really think any of these morons are going to sit down and play fucking Rocky Balboa's City of Crime or whatever the fuck the game's name is? How many times will this shit have to happen where a company goes out of their way to damage their own brand, screw with their own games, all in a push to appeal to these people, to this modern audience, and then they are left out in the fucking dust because these people are not buying and playing these games? When will these companies understand that these people don't want them to change so they will buy their products? They just want them to change because they're oppressive little nutcases who want everything and everyone to conform to their worldviews. How many times will we have to see this play out where a franchise that was built for over a decade, catering to and nurturing an audience for years and years, suddenly flips a switch, turns on them, and starts making borderline unrecognizable garbage that gets rejected by the people they assumedly don't care about anymore, and ends up flopping because, lo and behold, the people that they are trying to appeal to with all of this new, overly sensitive, politically correct bullshit were never interested in the goddamn franchise to begin with. These cases should be examples so that studios like this, like in-game studios, can learn from someone else's mistakes and avoid making the same ones themselves. But instead, they just rolled over their biggest supporter, a supporter who was actually sponsoring the game, not even the other way around, a supporter whom a lot of people playing the game are fans of because they found the game through her. And they did it for what? Like, basically, who did they dump Kirsche and her community for? Well, for insufferable people who A. don't even play video games, B. don't give a shred of a fuck about this company, their brand, or their game for that matter. The only thing that they really care about is if they are playing to their tune, and C. who will turn on them the moment that they do anything at all that can be twisted or misconstrued into a bad thing to further their purposes. Or just because they're bored a random Tuesday afternoon and feel like canceling somebody. In fact, given that this game is about crime and shooting and stuff, with that whole aesthetic and everything, and featuring some characters based on real action stars of the 80s and 90s and early 2000s, I would fucking bet that they already have a problem with this game, or they are about to have one as soon as they learn more about it. Literally all it takes is, for example, Danny Trejo to ever have a tweet or an audio recording or maybe a movie roll surfacing where he says something that these freaks would consider derogatory, and then then bam, they'll be canceling the whole goddamn game too, or campaigning for having the character removed. My god, how did you guys, how stupid are you to side with these people? Like, how does this happen? How are we still having this happening? It's 2025. How have people not learned yet? This is insane, man. This situation is just so ridiculous. I swear to God, this company, this game is utterly disposable to these people. They have nothing but liars and supporters of unhinged, inexcusable, zero-tolerance, cancel culture bullshit. And now this company is actively participating in it. They're actively supporting this and giving them power by going with it. And here's the thing, they're either doing it because they're weak, giving into fear needlessly for a bunch of lunatics who would be powerless if companies like this didn't fold so easily online, like, oh no, our affiliate said what and did what? Oh, we must cancel them right away. Forget about context, forget about our partnership, forget about contacting them and treating them like human beings. Let's just cut them out immediately before they come for us. If you don't give them power, then they have no power. Or they are doing it because they actually believe in this garbage, like they actually look at what Kirsche said and think that, hell no, there is absolutely no hypocrisy whatsoever. The White Lady's fundraiser should be removed, and all of the money that she raised should immediately be directed to Carmelo Anthony's defense, because what the world needs more of is white people getting gutted in Minecraft, of course. At which point, if this is the actual case, then they were very comfortable hypocritically and disingenuously partnering with Kirsche while it was financially beneficial for them, but now that they think that they don't need her anymore, they're dropping her like a fly and letting their true colors shine. One way or the other, they are cooked. Of course, this alone has already formed its own little controversy as people now come out making excuses, like this post here from Kenny Sue or whatever, and others who are parroting it in defense of the studio and to invalidate what is happening with Kirsche, especially because there's been a surge of negative reviews on Steam ever since this happened. Let's read. Cancel culture has eroded in meaning. Instead of being the attempt to deplatform a creator or significantly harm their public image, often unjustly, it now somehow means a single company choosing to not associate their brand with you anymore after hearing your insane beliefs. Isn't it funny how this contradicts itself? In one line, it's supposedly describing what true cancel culture is, with the line that it's to harm a creator's public image unjustly. And in the next line, it's saying that Kirsche has insane beliefs, when she wasn't even expressing a goddamn belief to begin with, unless pointing out hypocrisy is now considered a belief. This shit straight up shows that the cancel culture is in action here, because what she actually expressed is being misconstrued as insanity. Also, the entire thing is disingenuous as fuck, of course. Cancel culture works exactly like this. Cancel culture is literally a single company choosing to not associate their brands with a creator anymore, followed by another company, and then another, and then another, so on and so forth. Like, there's no coordinated plan between companies. Like, fucking Coca-Cola isn't going to call up Samsung or some shit and be like, hey man, I think we should both cut Kirsche out, like, right now. Cancel culture works precisely like this. People go online and make a bunch of noise with blatant lies, virtue signaling, and all manner of other bullshit, often even coordinated, in an attempt to get a creator's sponsors to drop them, and at worst, to get a creator's platform to demonetize them or ban them. It's a goddamn process, and just because it's not all happening immediately, all at once and in full force, doesn't mean that it's not happening. Thankfully, so far it seems that it's only been this studio to do this. I think Gamer Subs, for example, doesn't seem to be inclined towards dropping Kirsche, but the goddamn problem is precisely that this is how it goes. One company drops you and there's a chance of a stupid domino effect of wusses following up on it and dropping you too, because, everyone else is doing it. It's literally about the optics and the narrative that is created around it. For example, if a brand drops you, suddenly the narrative will be reinforced, and now any brands that haven't dropped you have this abstract shit hanging over their heads where not doing so means that they are now supporting the creator. They are now supporting whatever it is that is going on online in the narrative. So if somebody says that Jimmyson is racist, and then Coca-Cola is like, okay, fuck this, I'm dropping this guy. Coca-Cola leaves, but then Samsung hasn't left yet. Suddenly, Samsung is no longer just associated with this creator because whatever, partnership. Suddenly, Samsung is now supporting racism. It creates this thing of like, now it's official, now it's time to pick sides, which usually makes other companies, especially advertisers and sponsors, follow suit because they don't want to be seen as in support of that something. They just want this nonsense to stop so they can get back to doing business. They don't even look into the situation to see if the accusations are true or not, or to see if they can defend the creator or not. They don't do none of that. They just drop them immediately because they don't care whether it's true or not. They only care about what it looks like in the moment and how much money they're losing over it. Spineless corpo behavior that these morons love to worship, right until the moment where it happens to them. So yeah, no, this post, this narrative is just a bunch of bullshit fit to dismiss the gravity of what is happening. Yet another attack on a creator over a personal view expressed online, one that, this time around, is literally just pointing out blatant hypocrisy, not choosing a side, not nothing, and once again sounding the horns of the cancel culture for people and brands affiliated with this person to drop her over lies from terminally online cucks, losers, game journalists, and other assorted morons who love drinking in the power that they sadly still hold because of companies like in-game studios who just give in to it. Because of those aforementioned negative reviews, people have taken to saying that Kirsche is complaining about cancel culture while exercising it herself on the game. Kirsche does say in her video that people who bought this game should show their discontentment with the situation, and this is being misconstrued as an attack. However, she also says very clearly that people shouldn't brigade on the game's page just to do it, and shouldn't insult the people working in the studio. She merely says that anyone who actually spent their hard-earned money on the game should drop a negative review in protest to what is going on right now. That's the goddamn thing that these people are missing. You can't come into my house, shit on my carpet, and then cry and whine and piss yourself if I come to your house and do the same. This studio dropping her by giving into this ridiculous bad faith attempt at canceling her is the original sin. Hell, this isn't even about original sin now that I think about it, this is just the sin. Like, that is where the problem lies. This studio has gone down the road of giving into and supporting a measure that gamers have been sick and tired of putting up with for years now. Like, this is just what happens. You fuck up and people go into your goddamn Steam page or Metacritic or whatever else, wherever they can, and they protest it. At this point, it's not even about Kirsche herself anymore. It's about yet another studio in the games industry giving in to the same kind of people, the same kind of ideology trying to fuck with our games. And there absolutely is legitimacy in calling it out and rating it negatively, because I don't want to support this. I am not even a viewer of hers, and this has totally soured me out on the game because I do not want to support companies who engage in this. This stupid trend has to stop. Companies need to learn that when they engage in this shit, they are taking action against a huge chunk of their current and potential customer base, because most people just don't care about what those losers are always complaining about. They're always complaining about something. There's always something to complain about. And more, there's people taking notice of this and becoming even more adamantly against these complainers, because censorship born out of this type of people and out of this type of narrative has become so prevalent that even if they don't know or play Crime Boss Rockeye City, there is a huge chance that they are playing some other game or excited for an upcoming one that has been impacted by this brand of censorship or cancellation or activism. Showing distaste for this, speaking out against it, and if possible reviewing it negatively are perfectly valid ways for people to show their disappointment. The game isn't getting cancel cultured. Unlike Kirsche, the game isn't going to be pulled away from Steam or whatever. This is no more cancel culture than negatively reviewing a game that released broken or that has microtransactions or loot boxes or whatever. disingenuous morons making this type of stupid argument are the people that this studio for some fucking reason decided to associate with instead. They don't even understand the concept of leaving a negative review for something, the concept of voting with your wallet, the concept of criticizing a problem that you see rising in the industry. But then again, I'm not really surprised because, well, they don't play games. So best of luck to in-game studios for siding with these people. I hope that they bring them many players and vast amounts of success. It's one hell of a bold strategy. Let's see how it plays out. But anyway, that's it from me on this one. Sorry for the delay, guys. I've been busy doing some moving, not moving from home, but setting up a new space for myself to work on some videos and with better internet connection to hopefully participate in some streams from fellow creators who have expressed interest in having me on. Aside from this though, I've also been working on an Oblivion video going over the censorship in the remaster. I know I'm kinda late on this, but you know, hopefully it'll still be worth your time. With that said, thank you very much for watching, and as usual, if you enjoyed the video, give it a like, dislike it if you didn't, and I will see you on the next one. Take care.